Now, some people at this moment will kind of push back and say, Kyle, I don't know if I agree with that. I think you can do good things. You don't even actually have to be a believer in Jesus Christ and do good things. I mean, there's secular, there's atheists, there's agnostics out there. They take care of the homeless. They open up medical clinics in Africa. I don't think you really have to be a Christian in order to bear fruit. Two things I'd like to say. Number one, is it true that atheists can bear fruit without Jesus? Do unbelievers do this apart from Christ, the one to whom all things come from, and through whom all things exist, and to whom all things were created, and to whom all things are going? Are you really telling me that non-believers act without the power of God? Let me ask you this. Whose breath do they use as they labor? Whose natural resources do they use? Whose sun shines upon them? Whose energy is in their body? Is it not Jesus Christ's? So number one, I would challenge that assertion. Number two, even if you do the right thing, good moral things, if you don't do those moral things in relation to the one who gave you all things or thankfulness to him, is it really good? Let me give you an analogy. Let's say I'm a teenager who is receiving a monthly allowance from my parents. Imagine this teenager then goes to his friends. They're out at a night at the movies, and he's badmouth. Man, my parents are the worst. They're so stingy. I hate my parents. I can't stand my parents. But I'm generous. Let me buy you your movie ticket tonight. Oh, hold up. Who gave him the money to buy the movie ticket for his friends? Was it not his stingy parents? And even though this teenager might seem generous in what he's doing for his friends, he's neglecting the very one who gave him life and money and the ability to do what he wants to do. And the whole act of generosity is tainted because it's done without the recognition of the very one who created him. You see, that's what we do when we neglect Christ, when we do things without relation to Jesus. Jonathan Edwards also gives us this great analogy, the great congregational preacher. He said this: a few notes in a tune taken only by themselves and in their relation to one another may be harmonious. But when you consider with respect to all the notes in the tune, or the entire series of the sounds they are connected with, it may be very discordant and disagreeable. In other words, good works are like playing the right melody. You know, in church recently we've been doing the song "Build My Life." So if we were to play "Build My Life," it would go like this. So that's the melody. That's what God wants us to do. He wants us to play that. Now, when we sin, it's like this. Doesn't sound very good, right? That's sin. But here's what Jonathan Edwards is saying. He's saying that non-believers are playing the right melody, but it's not in key. It's like this. Now that sounds good until you put it in relation to God. God's key is like this. The non-believers are like this. Not very good. Now on its own, the melody sounds right. It's all the right notes. It's all the things that God wants them to do, but it's without thanksgiving to the one who created them. And so when I think about this passage, we really can do nothing without God. It's like a Nazi soldier who would maybe play with his children before working at the concentration camp that day. It's a good act, but his whole act is tainted by the trajectory of his life.